Hi guys, so today I'm going to be sharing with you one of the biggest dilemmas that many expat parents in Luxembourg are having. But we're going to get some answers today, and probably it will be helpful for many of you who are planning on moving to Luxembourg, and I'm pretty sure if you're planning on having children, you will also have this dilemma. It is about the public schools versus the private and public schools. So which one would you choose? Because that's the dilemma. People do not know, people know, but people are having difficulty on which to go with. Should I take my children to the public schools, or should I take my kids to the private school? So that's been one of the biggest dilemmas that parents, and mostly expat parents, are facing in Luxembourg. And I'm one of them. So one thing that you should know about Luxembourg, we have both the French / the English private international schools and also the public international schools. And then the public schools, which is all catered for by the government. So we have three sections. The private, which is you find in French or English, private schools. And then you go for the public, English speaking schools are also there, and French, whatever it is that you want. And then you will also get the government schools, the public schools that are funded entirely by the government. That's from the country. So today we're going to speak about the decision-making dilemma that many parents are facing. So some of the things that I'm going to talk about is I've been interacting with so many parents because I'm in the same, just like everyone else. Because right now my daughter is 5 years old. So she's left with, I think, close to 2 years, and then she'll be able to join primary. So for what I did for me, what I decided for me was, because in Luxembourg, school starts at 3 years. The minute you clock 3 years old, you have to start school. You start school. That's what they start with. They call it pre-coche, but it's like kindergarten. Kindergarten day, baby class. In Uganda, I think we have we have K1, K2, and K3. So it's like the baby class. That is the pre-coche. So you from the age of 3, you go to school. You start school. So my daughter is in now K2. I think here in Uganda we would call it K2, and here it's called Speelschule. That's what they call it. You start with the pre-coche at 3 years, and then you go to the Speelschule, and then after the Speelschule, I think it's like 2 years, and then after that, then at 6, from 6 onwards, that's when you do the primary. But for me and my husband, what we decided to do, we decided she continues in the public school, because we want her to learn some bit of the languages, because it's very important. The language is like really a key thing here. So right now she's in the public school. She has done the pre-coche, she finished, and now she's in the Speelschule. So it's all in the public thing, and they teach them in Luxembourgish. Everything is in Luxembourgish, which is okay. But now our biggest issue, our biggest dilemma for us, which is the same I think for some other parents as well, is after that, the primary. Do we want her to continue with the public school, like the school funded by the Luxembourg government, or do we want to take her to an English-speaking school? That is one of the biggest dilemmas that we are basically having. What I'm going to do to make it maybe easy for some of you who are also coming is I'm going to give you the advantages of being in the public schools, and then I also give you the advantages of being in the international school. Then from there, you'll be able to decide what is good. So the first thing that this is based on conversations that I've had with different parents, because when I go to school, I'm meeting different parents, and I'm picking their brains on what they're deciding, what reasons they want to. And I've spoken to some who have already gone to the international schools, and some who are still in the public schools. So we're just going to talk about that. So today it's just going to be, I'm going to talk about the advantages of being in the public school. I'm going to give it as there are about 5 or 6 criteria that you could consider if you want to take your kids to the public schools. The first thing is, this is just a summary of the things that to help you, the defining criteria for you. So that would be, how many years do you plan to stay in Luxembourg? Is Luxembourg the long-term place for you that favors the integration, is better for you? So are you looking at Luxembourg as is Luxembourg the place that you're going to live for, say, come to, I don't know, is it like the place for you? You're not planning on moving and going anywhere? That's one fun thing you should consider. If you plan to move somewhere else, let's say in maybe 5 to 10 years, then I guess it would be best for you to probably go to the international school. But if you're here for the long-term goal, then that's it. So these are the questions you should ask yourself. Do you plan on living here? And the second thing, how important is logistics to you? Do you want a school close to where you live, or do you want a school that is far? Those are some of the questions, to help you make your decision much easier. Then the third one would be, do you have a budget? If so, can you already, if you have a budget, then you can already delete some of the schools, because when you do your research, you look at the different schools, And for example, if you're looking towards the private sector, so look at all the different schools and look at the fees of those schools. And some of the schools, the school fees, it varies. So you look at that stuff, and then you look at your budget. Does your budget fall into the bracket? If it does, then well, easy for you. If it doesn't, then you cancel. And if everything is a little bit too expensive for you, then why not go to public schools, which is free of charge. Then the other thing is that, do you want a school with full-time option, or are you okay with having to look for a foyer? Because in Luxembourg, we have, for example, in the public schools, in the public schools you have everything is lined up for you. You take your child, let's say if it's we have what we call, they have I'll use daycare, after school. They provide after school. So some kids could go to school up to midday, then after midday they go to what they call the foyer. And the foyer is like an after school, where it helps parents, like a working parent. You cannot go pick your child at midday, because you have to go back to work. So the public schools has all that offering, which is free of charge. Then do you want to keep your kid an extra year at the creche or no? Then, do you have some specific teaching methods in mind? Are you looking at the Montessori, at the Steiner, etc.? So these are some of the criteria, the defining criteria that you can think of. And then it will make it much easier for you to make a decision. Now that you've written down those criteria, so let's look at the advantages of taking your child to the pub. Today it's going to be about the public schools. And then on the next vlog, I will talk about the advantages of being in the private So the public schools, this is what they offer. Good option if you plan to live in Luxembourg for the longer goal. Like, for example, Lux is where you're planting your roots. Like, for example, let's say my husband and I, probably, it's an example. Let's say we are looking at Luxembourg as this is it. We are planting our roots here, and this is going to be our home. We do not foresee probably leaving Luxembourg. So definitely in this situation, a public school would be the best option for you, because if your kids are going to be living in Luxembourg, so it's important for them to go to a public school so they can learn the languages, they can integrate, they can, feel more like citizens of the country. So a public school would be the option. Then the second one, opportunity to learn different languages like Luxembourgish, German, French, and English. So let me tell you something about the public schools of Luxembourg. When the kids start the pre-coche, which is the first the preschool. When the kids start preschool, immediately they start teaching them in Luxembourgish. Everything is Luxembourgish. The first year is even if your kid will join, they have no idea what Luxembourgish is. But by the end of the year, that year of the preschool, they can already speak the language. So they'll go for the 3 years of preschool is all in Luxembourgish. Now, when they start primary, everything changes. Everything changes, and then they start teaching them now. This is where they start, because in the preschool, it's all about teaching them. I've spoken about this a lot. It's all about teaching them creativity, teaching them to think on their own, to do stuff, it's more of very practical. They sing, they dance, they do crafts, they do lots of creative things, which is really good for the mind at that time. They're just preparing them for primary. There is nothing like the ABC, the 1, 2, and the mathematics and all that stuff is not yet there. It's just about creativity and learning and socializing and interacting and integrating and language. They're just learning Luxembourgish and stuff like that. Then when they go to primary, that is when the real studying starts, because now they are 6 years, their brains are ready to grasp stuff, and then they start teaching them now how to read, how to write, how to that stuff. Now get things now change. For you in Uganda, from the time you start school from nursery, it's English, 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 English. In Luxembourg, it's completely something very different. So when the kids join primary, now they switch and it's all German. Remember, these are kids who do not speak German. For example, like my daughter doesn't speak German. Most expats, probably their kids don't speak German. So they start teaching the kids in German now. Oh dear. So it's a struggle for some kids, but not entirely, because Luxembourgish and German are a bit very similar. The language is actually very similar. If you're from Uganda, it's like Chinyarwanda and Lutoro, you know, like kind of similarity. So it's kind of like the same, or maybe there's some similarities. If you speak Luxembourgish, you speak German, you can understand. So they say, the people here say, it's not very hard. It's a bit quite easy for the children to adjust because their brains are still very young and they can kind of like adapt to almost everything, you know. So that is it. So from primary, I think from primary until primary 3 or something, I'm not so sure. I'm not very sure there, but it's all German. Then along the way, I think when they're joining probably P4 or 5, I don't know, they call them cycles here. That is when they switch and they start French, because I think certain subjects are taught in the different language. So along the way, I think when around, I think cycle 4 or something, I'm not so sure. You can do your research and find that one out. I'm not very sure about that one. But along the way, they switch to French. So from then on, you have to start now learning in French. So you look at that, you see guys, the history is from Luxembourgish, German, and then French. So that is the beauty of it. So your kids will be able to speak all those languages by the time they are done with primary. They'll be done, like they'll be speaking all those languages. And then English is also along, I think English, they started at when they've joined, I think when they're in secondary, that is when they start the English, but they also study English. So that is a plus. There is lots of languages. Then it is possible to let the kids start at the local schools. And if it doesn't work out where you see that your child is struggling, then you can transfer them to a private school, depending on what language you prefer. So this is it. Sometimes you're confused. You think, let me take my kid to, you've come to Luxembourg. You're like, I know, I don't plan on moving. I'm not going anywhere. So I think I will be moving, and probably in the next 2 years, I'll be going back to the US or UK or whatever. So I'll just take my kid to an international school. So in most cases, probably you get there and then you get happy. And now Luxembourg is going to be the place for you. Then you want to switch and probably bring your kid to a public school. That is most likely not a good idea. The best idea is, if you're here and you're not sure of yourself whether you're going to stay or not to stay, take your kid to the public school and then let them start. And as you go, you keep monitoring your child, because the teachers always will update you on the progress of your kid. And they can actually, even the teachers would advise you, be like, you know what, I don't think it's going to work for your child. Let them go to like maybe an English speaking school or a French speaking school, somewhere where they see that your child will be able to succeed or prevail in whatever it is that she's doing. So that is a better idea. So you start from then, and along the way, if things are not working, like it's not just working for you, that is when you move to a private school and you choose a school of the language that you guys prefer. So it's always good. At least the child will have started from the public school, the Luxembourgish school. At least by the time they are moving to whatever it is, then they can probably speak at least something. So that's what we are doing. Me and my husband decided, let us start, and then let's see how things will allow your children to really settle in, not just like a kid only, but also in their adult life. So this is it. If you know that Luxembourg is going to be like, this is it for you, it's your route and everything. Even if you know at some point in 5 years' time you're going to move, Luxembourg schools is a good option, because your child will really integrate, you know. Like they will become like true citizens of Luxembourg. They'll be able to speak the language, they'll be able to understand the culture, to understand the ways and like everything about Luxembourg, how things are done. Just like the way you're in your country, you start from primary, you're in through until the end, you know everything about your country. They teach you everything about that country. So the child will be able to integrate easily and know stuff. And even in their adult life, when they grow, they will know stuff. When some, for example, they've lived all their lives in Luxembourg, they will have an idea of what the country is all about. So it will be easy for them, even when as they grow up, it will be the best decision for you if you make that. Another thing, the child will have the opportunity to work for the government. One thing that I know is that the government of Luxembourg really prefers to hire Luxembourgish. So in majority of these state organizations, the ministries and whatever it is, it's very rare that you're going to find an expat. Very rare. In most cases, they really hire Luxembourg, which is a good thing. I know for some of us expats, we may not be able to get a job there, but I think it's a good thing. So if if your kid goes to that school, this is your opening more opportunities. They will not only be working in international organizations, but they'll be able also to get through to the ministries. And I'm told the Luxembourg government pays really well. That's why the majority of the Luxembourgish have a very good salary. Like they are really okay. They are living a good life. Of course not everyone, but majority of them are living really good. So it's a good opportunity for you as well. And if you plan, the kids will go in there, so they can work anywhere in Luxembourg. They won't have only like one category, but they'll have even the government and the other places. So it's a good thing. And then if you want to give your child a good start and keep all options open for the life in Luxembourg, go with the public school. No one of the others above will be able to teach your child all the languages that are needed to have a fully unrestricted life in Luxembourg, as I already talked about. Then a nice side effect is having most classmates living nearby. So the thing about Luxembourg, it's each commune has its school. Like for example, let's say where I live, we have it's a commune, and we have our schools, we have our everything. We're like in our own kind of like little town. So you have your schools, you have your this, you have that, you have your everything is within yourselves. So the things that if you're in that neighborhood, most likely that all of you take your children to that same school. So for example, as we're taking our kid to school X, so all our neighbors, all our whatever it is around us are all taking their kids to school X. So this is a good thing. So you find that during holidays, during summertime, the kids are all friendly because they're all going to the same school, so which is good. But then if you choose to take your child, probably, let's say, either international schools, which in most cases they are not like in the neighborhood because they are international, so you have to probably drive and go to the city or out of the city. So your kid will kind of like be, which is for us in Uganda, that's how it is. These are some of the advantages of taking your kid to the public school. And if you're a parent and you're in Luxembourg and you have other reasons that you could share with me, please write them down on the comment section and let's share these things with all the other people, because I know it's a dilemma when you get to Luxembourg. Trust me, and you're a parent, this is something that you're going to struggle. It's like it's really a struggle. It's a discussion that is going on and on and on and on. But at the end of the day, with some of these things that I've given you and the criteria that I've mentioned for you guys, I hope it will make your decision making much easier. That is it for today. And thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate you guys. And for those who have not yet subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel, comment, like, share with anyone you think will benefit from my videos. And so for next time, we will talk about the advantages of taking your child to the international school. So stay tuned for the next vlog. Goodbye.